Hi everybody, this is Don1151 and Mekkah,
Hi.
and you are watching Chapter 10 by Fire Emblem 6 Hard Mode 0% Gross Playthrough.
So yeah, Chapter 10, Chapter 10L to be precise. It's also known as Chapter 10A, and these letters refer to the route split that we're currently undergoing. It lasts for all of 2 chapters, and we'll go back to regular numbering quite shortly. Chapter 10A, it's one of the easier chapters probably. There's only 2 groups of enemies to go through, but the first group especially is kind of tough. Mostly because there's a couple of mercenaries that we need to get through, and these are hard to double. Not even Rutger does it consistently. There's also a halberd fighter to deal with that can one-hit KO each of our mounted units, or at least the ones with actual horses. So look forward to that.
And in order to help us dispatch these very tough enemies, we've deployed Lena for some reason, even though you might recall me decrying her as being a very bad unit back in Chapter 8. But you may also remember me saying that we need her to recruit a handful of enemy characters throughout the game, and so this is the first instance in which we require her services to that end. So she's going to fearlessly walk up to an enemy fighter, and that enemy fighter probably has enough attack to one-hit KO 2 of her. But not to worry, because very shortly Roy's going to walk up next to her and give her some moral support. They're going to have a brief conversation, and a message in Japanese is going to appear on the screen. So what I've done there is I've increased the support level. I'm going to briefly cover supports, because they don't play a very big role in this playthrough, but a lot of players are probably very familiar with them already because they're kind of like an integral part of the Fire Emblem experience, depending on which game you're playing. The reason for that is because they're an intersection between story and between gameplay mechanics. So when 2 units have a support conversation, we learn a bit more about their backstory and their personality, and then after they have their support conversation, they get a small boost to their combat parameters when they are standing within 3 tile range of each other. So here, for example, if Roy and Lena are standing within 3 tiles of each other, they each get, I think, +1 attack, +5 hit, +5 critical, and a smattering of other sundry bonuses.
You might have noticed that there is an archer on a weird kind of apparatus he's attacking right now. That guy is using a ballista, and ballista are very annoying. They are basically 3 to 10 range bows if they don't have bigger range, and they're located in a very secluded part of the map that makes them hard to get to, so they can pick off your weak units at ease. If you've played Fire Emblem 7, you might be familiar with these ballista. They have limited ammo and they weigh a lot, so you will never get doubled by a ballista. These are slightly different from the ones in Fire Emblem 7. In Fire Emblem 7, if you're on a ballista as an archer, you have that ballista equipped, even for the other person's phase. So, for example, if you attack an enemy archer on player phase while they're on a ballista, you're gonna double them, and they're gonna die pretty much every time. But in this game, if you attack an archer using a ballista on player phase, they equip their normal weapon, so you might not double them, and that can be very annoying. Especially because they also get a bonus from the terrain they're on, the ballista itself. It gives a little bit of a void, and that can also be a little tricky to deal with.
So Rutger has been cutting a swath through the enemies in this map, and he's going to continue doing so with the second group of enemies. The reason he's been able to kill them so easily, I mean, he had the killing edge equipped in the previous enemy phase, but here he has a special weapon equipped called the Wodao, and we hinted at its existence in the previous chapter after we recruited Fur, but I'm going to explain it in a bit more detail here. It's basically a glorified version of the killing edge. It trades, it has 1 less might and 5 less hit, but it has 10 more critical. So right now Rutger has a base 77 critical, which means he has a very high likelihood to crit an enemy even if he doesn't double. And that's very important against the enemy mercenaries because, as Mekkah said earlier, they're pretty fast. By now they're getting fast enough such that Rutger might not be able to double them, and they're also not too shabby on the defensive side. So we do need the criticals in order to quickly dispatch the enemy mercenaries, because even if we were to use a paladin with a very strong weapon like a silver lance, we'd have trouble adequately killing them. Like, I think we'd probably just 2-hit KO them at best, and even though we have a weapon triangle advantage, I mean, mercenaries are dodgy enough such that we also have to make sure that we don't miss.
If you pay very close attention, you might have noticed that Shin almost always attacks twice whenever we use him, and he almost always takes a kill. This is not just because we want him to be at level 10 sooner rather than later, so we can promote him and such. But we also want him to build weapon EXP, and Don is going to explain in detail just how weapon EXP works, just because we haven't really covered it yet, and it's very important for Shin in particular.
We might have pointed out something about weapon ranks earlier, but basically weapon ranks and weapon EXP are very intricately tied. In this game, there are 6 different weapon ranks. There are E, D, C, B, A, and S, and it takes 50 weapon experience or weapon EXP to go from one rank to the next. Shin starts with a base D in bows, and we have to get him to S rank bows by the end of the game. Now, there are 2 ways to increase weapon rank. One is just to use a weapon over and over again, and the other is to promote. So when Shin promotes, he's going to get a +1 weapon rank boost to his bows. So if we take into account Shin's promotion bonus, he would have to effectively go from D rank bows to A rank bows, which is a total of 3 ranks, so that's 150 weapon EXP that he has to gain throughout most of the playthrough. Now, the way that weapon EXP is gained is every time you attack with a weapon, even if you miss, you get 1 weapon EXP. If you double, obviously you attack twice, so you get 2. And if you kill an enemy with a hit, then you also get 2 weapon EXP for that particular hit. So he just doubled and KO'd a fighter, so he got 1 weapon EXP plus 2 weapon EXP equals a total of 3. And we'd have to do that many times in order to get 150.
Stabs in this game also give 1 weapon EXP per use, which makes it really hard to level up staff rank in this game. In the meanwhile, we are being joined by a new character. His name is Geese, and he's the green NPC pirate that Roy is now recruiting into our army. Geese is, for the most part, fairly worthless, because, well, he's a pirate, he only has 5 move, we have a bunch of 5 move units. He has kind of high attack, especially with the Brave Axe that he comes with, but overall he's just a little too slow and a little too inaccurate to use a lot. But at least we can use his Brave Axe in the next chapter for a couple of things. But for the most part, you don't really want to use that Brave Axe because it's so heavy, so whenever Geese attacks someone, he's going to get doubled in return and probably killed.
Yeah, Geese is the only character who we have so far with the at least a B rank in axes, because that's the weapon rank required to use any sort of brave weapon. That would normally be pretty good, but because his other parameters are just very bad, and because, like Mekkah said, he gets way down a lot. He has 10 constitution and the Brave Axe weighs 16, so he gets a -6 attack speed, which means that if he decided to use the Brave Axe to attack anyone, if he doesn't kill his target, he's pretty much just going to get annihilated on the counterattack. So, I mean, the Brave Axe is still situationally useful in very select circumstances, as we will see in the next chapter, but aside from that, it's something that we want to avoid using.
We also see that Saul promotes here, and this gives him a bit of stat boosts that are not too significant. He can now use lightning tomes or light magic, which he also cannot use right now because we don't have any, but I guess it will come up somewhere in the playthrough.
Yeah, one notable thing about Fire Emblem 6 is that there are no offensive light magic users who are unpromoted. So if you played Fire Emblem 7 before, you might know characters like Lucius, who starts out as a monk, and so he can use light magic unpromoted. But in this game, you can't use light magic until you promote, so they don't become available until, I think, the next chapter anyway. So that means Saul's going to continue to be offensively impotent. And the enemy who just joined after a brief cutscene, his name is Gonzalez. He's a character whom we deployed Lena to recruit. So he bears a lot of similarities to Geese because they're both axe users and they both promote the same class. But stat-wise, Gonzalez is much better because he has higher base stats, he has armor bonuses, and he also has better growths if he had growths at all. So a lot of players like Gonzalez because he's a combination of being very strong and very fast. But we don't use him at all as playthrough because he's not mounted, his accuracy is pretty bad, and he actually has a high constitution stat, which makes it pretty hard to carry him around and get him places. So that's chapter 10 completed in 7 turns. We will see you next time.
See ya.